The crystal chandeliers sparkled above 200 guests seated in the elegant ballroom of the Riverside Hotel. Amelia Richardson stood at the head table, her emerald green dress catching the light as servers placed salads before the wedding party. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Tomorrow she would marry Jackson Porter, the man she'd loved for 3 years. But tonight something felt wrong. Jackson had been tense all evening, whispering with his groomsmen and checking his phone repeatedly. Amelia tried to ignore the knot forming in her stomach. Wedding jitters, she told herself. Everyone gets nervous. Then Rebecca walked in. Amelia's breath caught. Rebecca Stone, Jackson's ex-girlfriend from college, strode into the rehearsal dinner wearing a crimson dress that hugged every curve. She hadn't been on the guest list. Amelia had made sure of that after Jackson mentioned Rebecca had been texting him congratulations. Jackson. Amelia whispered, touching his arm. Why is she here? Jackson stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. The room gradually quieted as guests noticed the tension. He cleared his throat, and Amelia's father stopped mid-sentence in his toast. I need to say something, Jackson announced, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom. Before we go through with tomorrow, there's something that needs to be addressed. Amelia's mother, Brenda, touched her husband's hand nervously. Nicole, Amelia's best friend and maid of honor, leaned forward in her seat, her eyes narrowed. Jackson took a deep breath. Rebecca is an important person in my life. She always has been. We have history, and that doesn't just disappear because I'm getting married. Jackson, what are you doing? Amelia asked quietly, her voice barely audible. He turned to face her, and the look in his eyes made her blood run cold. This wasn't nervousness. This was calculation. I've been thinking about this for weeks, Amelia. Rebecca and I have reconnected, and I realize now that I can't move forward with our marriage unless you accept her presence in our lives. She needs to be part of our friend group. She needs to be welcome at our home. If you can't accept that, if you can't be mature enough to handle this, then maybe we shouldn't get married at all. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Amelia heard gasps, saw shocked faces turning toward her. Her aunt put a hand over her mouth. Her cousin stood up, looking ready to intervene. Rebecca moved closer to the head table, a small smile playing on her lips. She looked triumphant, like she'd won something Amelia hadn't realized they were competing for. Amelia's hands trembled. Her vision blurred at the edges. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not in front of everyone they knew. You're giving me an ultimatum? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. At our rehearsal dinner? In front of our families? I'm being honest, Jackson replied, crossing his arms. I'm telling you what I need. Accept Rebecca in our lives or the wedding is off. It's your choice. Amelia looked at her parents. Her father's face had turned red with anger. Her mother looked like she might cry. She saw Jackson's parents sitting stiffly, neither looking surprised nor upset. Had they known about this? Nicole grabbed Amelia's hand under the table, squeezing hard. The gesture grounded her. Reminded her that whatever happened next, she wasn't alone. The ballroom waited. 200 pairs of eyes watched her. Some pitying. Some horrified. Some curious about what she would do. Jackson stood with his arms crossed, Rebecca beside him now, both waiting for Amelia to crumble. To beg. To accept whatever scraps of dignity they'd leave her. Amelia stood slowly, smoothing her emerald dress. She looked at Jackson, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. How had she missed this? How had she convinced herself that his occasional coldness was just stress? That his defensive reactions when she asked about his phone were just her being paranoid? She took a breath and spoke one word that would change everything. Okay. The confusion on Jackson's face was almost comical. Rebecca's smile faltered. Okay. Jackson repeated. Okay, what? Okay, the wedding is off, Amelia said calmly. You've made your choice. I've made mine. She picked up her purse from the back of her chair, her hands no longer shaking. She looked at Nicole, who immediately stood with her. Amelia, wait, Jackson started, finally realizing his plan had backfired. I didn't mean. I thought you'd. You thought I'd what? Amelia turned back to him. Beg you to reconsider? Accept being disrespected in front of everyone we know? Thank you for being honest, Jackson. You've shown me exactly who you are. She walked toward the door, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Nicole followed immediately. Behind them, chaos erupted. Amelia's father was shouting. Her mother was crying. Guests were standing, talking over each other. But Amelia kept walking. Out of the ballroom. Through the hotel lobby. Into the cool night air. She had just called off her wedding 12 hours before she was supposed to walk down the aisle. Her dress was hanging in her hotel room upstairs. The flowers were already delivered to the church. The photographer would arrive at 8 in the morning. But for the first time in months, possibly years, Amelia Richardson could breathe. The hotel room felt suffocating despite the air conditioning humming steadily. Amelia sat on the edge of the bed, still in her emerald dress, staring at her engagement ring. The diamond caught the lamplight, throwing tiny rainbows across the cream-colored walls. Nicole paced near the window, her phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, Mom?" "No, I don't know what happens to the reception food. That's not exactly the priority right now." A knock at the door made them both freeze. Nicole looked through the peephole and relaxed slightly. "It's your parents." Brenda rushed in the moment the door opened, pulling Amelia into her arms. Tom Richardson followed, his face still flushed with anger. "Baby girl," Brenda whispered, stroking Amelia's hair. "I'm so sorry." "I can't believe that boy did that to you," Tom said, his voice shaking. "In front of everyone. If he thinks he can just—" "Dad, please." Amelia pulled away from her mother's embrace. "I need quiet right now." Her father pressed his lips together but nodded. He sat heavily in the armchair by the window. "What do you need us to do?" Brenda asked gently. "The wedding is scheduled for 10 tomorrow morning. We need to start making calls." The wedding. The wedding that wouldn't happen. Amelia felt the reality of it settling over her like a heavy blanket. 200 guests would need to be notified. The church would need to be canceled. The reception venue. The photographer. The DJ. The cake. "I'll handle the vendors," Nicole said, already making notes on her phone. "Mrs. Richardson, can you start calling the out-of-town family? Let them know not to come to the church." "What about Jackson's family?" Tom asked. "They should be the ones explaining this mess." "I don't care what Jackson's family does," Amelia said quietly. "I just want this over with." Her phone buzzed incessantly on the nightstand. Text messages flooded in. Cousins asking what happened. Friends saying they were sorry. Jackson's sister demanding she call immediately. And then Jackson's name appeared on the screen. She declined the call. He called again. And again. "Do you want me to talk to him?" Tom asked, standing. "No." Amelia turned off her phone. "There's nothing left to say." Nicole sat beside her. "What happened back there? I mean, I saw it, but I still can't believe it. He actually gave you an ultimatum about his ex-girlfriend at your rehearsal dinner." "He looked so confident," Amelia said softly. "Like he knew I'd just accept it. Like he thought I'd be so desperate to get married that I'd let him treat me that way." Brenda made an angry sound. "Where does that girl get off showing up uninvited? And standing there smiling while he humiliated you?" "They planned it," Amelia realized suddenly. "They planned this whole thing together. She didn't just show up. He invited her. He wrote that speech. They thought I'd be so embarrassed, so pressured by everyone watching, that I'd just agree." "But why?" Nicole asked. "What's the point? If he wanted to be with her, why not just break up with you quietly?" That was the question Amelia couldn't answer. What did Jackson gain by humiliating her publicly? By forcing her to either accept his terms or cancel the wedding herself? "He wanted me to be the bad guy," Amelia said slowly. "He wanted everyone to think I was being unreasonable. That I couldn't handle him having a female friend. That I was jealous and controlling." "That's twisted," Nicole said. "That's Jackson," Amelia replied. "I just never saw it clearly before." The night dragged on. Nicole and Brenda made phone calls while Tom sat with Amelia, not saying much but being present. Hotel staff brought up tea that no one drank. Around midnight, Amelia's phone buzzed again. She turned it back on to help with the vendor cancellations. This time it wasn't Jackson calling. It was a text from Rebecca. "I'm sorry it had to happen this way. Jackson really does care about you. But some things are bigger than a wedding. I hope you can understand that eventually." Amelia showed Nicole the message. Her best friend's eyes widened with fury. "The audacity," Nicole breathed. "She's actually trying to make this sound noble?" "Don't respond," Brenda advised. "Don't give them anything." But Amelia's fingers moved across the screen before she could stop herself. "You're welcome to him. You did me a favor." She hit send and then blocked both their numbers. By 2 in the morning, most of the calls had been made. The church was canceled. The reception venue would keep the deposit but release them from the contract. The photographer was understanding. The florist less so. Amelia finally unzipped her emerald dress and changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt. She washed off her makeup and stared at her reflection. Her eyes were red but dry. She hadn't cried yet. The shock was still too fresh. You should try to sleep, Nicole said gently. I'll stay here with you. I don't think I can sleep. Then we'll stay awake together. Amelia climbed into bed and Nicole got in beside her, just like they used to do at sleepovers when they were kids. Brenda and Tom left reluctantly, making Amelia promise to call if she needed anything. As dawn began to lighten the sky outside the hotel window, Amelia finally spoke. I almost married him, Nicole. I almost legally bound myself to someone who could do that to me. But you didn't, Nicole said firmly. You walked away. You chose yourself. Why doesn't it feel good then? Because it hurts. Because you loved him or you loved who you thought he was. But Amelia, you did the right thing. You know that, don't you? Amelia nodded slowly. She did know. But knowing something and feeling it were two different things. Somewhere in the hotel, Jackson was probably sleeping. Or maybe he was awake, realizing what he'd lost. Rebecca was probably with him, thinking she'd won. But Amelia was the one who was free. She just had to figure out what to do with that freedom now. Sunday morning arrived without the wedding it was supposed to bring. Amelia woke to sunlight streaming through the hotel curtains and for a brief, disoriented moment, forgot why she was there. Then memory crashed over her like a wave. She should have been getting her hair done right now. Should have been stepping into her wedding dress. Should have been heading to the church. Instead, she was staring at the ceiling of a hotel room, still wearing yesterday's sweatpants, while Nicole snored softly beside her. Her phone showed dozens of new messages. She scrolled through them mechanically. Her college roommate expressing shock. Her godmother sending prayers. Jackson's mother asking if they could talk privately. That last one made Amelia pause. Margaret Porter had always been kind to her, but something about the timing felt wrong. She deleted the message without responding. Nicole stirred awake, immediately checking her phone. Oh God, it's already trending on social media. What? Nicole showed her the screen. Someone had recorded Jackson's ultimatum and posted it online. The video had thousands of views already, spreading across multiple platforms. Comments flooded in. Most supported Amelia. Some called Jackson manipulative. A few blamed her for not being more understanding. Who recorded it? Amelia asked. Does it matter? It's out there now. Nicole sat up, running her hands through her hair. Actually, this might be good. Now everyone knows the truth. He can't spin this. A text from Amelia's mother appeared. Come home when you're ready. Your father made breakfast. The thought of facing her parents' house, the wedding gifts piled in the den, the returned addresses on 200 envelopes felt overwhelming. But staying in this hotel room felt worse. They checked out an hour later. As they walked through the lobby, Amelia spotted some of the wedding guests from last night. A few smiled sympathetically. Others quickly looked away. She held her head high and kept walking. At her parents' house, Tom had indeed made breakfast, though it sat mostly untouched. Brenda moved around the kitchen with determined efficiency, boxing up wedding gifts to return. Your Aunt Diane called, Brenda said. She wants you to know Jackson tried to blame you to anyone who would listen. Said you were jealous and controlling just like you thought. Of course he did, Amelia said without emotion. But no one's buying it, Tom added gruffly. Not after that video. People saw what he did. Amelia poured herself coffee and sat at the kitchen table. This room held so many memories. Birthday celebrations. Holiday dinners. The night Jackson had asked her parents for permission to propose, when everyone had been happy and hopeful. I need to go to the apartment, Amelia said suddenly. I need to get my things. I'll go with you, Nicole offered immediately. So will I, Tom said. Dad, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I'm not letting you face him alone. An hour later, they pulled up to the apartment Amelia and Jackson had shared for the past year. His car was in the parking lot. Her stomach tightened. The apartment looked the same. Same welcome mat. Same wreath on the door that Amelia had hung last month. But everything felt different now. She used her key to enter. Jackson was sitting on the couch, still in yesterday's clothes, looking exhausted. He stood quickly when he saw her. Amelia, thank God. We need to talk about this. Last night got out of hand, but... I'm here for my things, Amelia interrupted. That's all. You can't be serious. You're really going to throw away 3 years over this. Tom stepped between them. She doesn't owe you a conversation. She doesn't owe you anything. Jackson's jaw tightened. This is between me and my fiancé. Ex-fiancé, Nicole corrected, moving past him toward the bedroom. Amelia followed Nicole, leaving her father to keep Jackson in the living room. She could hear their voices rising as she pulled suitcases from the closet. How could you be so stupid? Tom demanded. What were you thinking? I was being honest about what I needed, Jackson shot back. If she can't handle me having female friends. Female friends? You demanded she accept your ex-girlfriend into your marriage or you'd cancel the wedding. In front of 200 people. Amelia blocked out their argument and focused on packing. Clothes, toiletries, the jewelry box her grandmother had given her, books from the nightstand. Nicole worked silently beside her, wrapping picture frames in newspaper. Most of the pictures showed Amelia and Jackson smiling. Happy moments that now felt like lies. In the back of the closet, Amelia found a shoebox that didn't belong to her. She opened it out of curiosity and froze. Inside were letters, printed emails, bank statements. She pulled one out, scanning it quickly. It was from Rebecca to Jackson, dated 3 months ago. I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Once you're married, everything will be easier. We'll have access to both incomes like we planned. Amelia's hands shook as she pulled out more papers. A bank statement showing Jackson had opened a joint account with Rebecca. Transfer records showing he'd been moving money from the account he shared with Amelia into this secret account. Nicole, she whispered. Look at this. Nicole read over her shoulder, her eyes widening. Oh my God. They've been planning this. They were going to marry you for your money. Amelia worked in marketing at a successful tech firm. She made good money, had a solid savings account, and had received a substantial inheritance from her grandfather last year. Jackson had been so supportive when she'd gotten that inheritance. Had helped her set up investment accounts. Had suggested she add his name to certain accounts for simplicity. She'd only added him to their shared checking account. Thank God she'd hesitated on the rest. Amelia? Jackson called from the living room. Can we please just talk? She gathered the papers carefully, making sure she had every piece of evidence. Then she walked back to the living room holding the shoebox. Jackson's eyes widened when he saw it. Where did you find that? In your closet. Where you apparently forgot it. She set it on the coffee table. Were you even going to go through with the marriage? Or was last night's scene supposed to make me so desperate that I'd agree to anything, including giving you access to my money? Jackson's face drained of color. Tom picked up one of the bank statements, reading it with growing fury. You opened a joint account with that woman? Tom's voice was dangerously quiet. While you were engaged to my daughter? It's not what it looks like, Jackson started. It looks like fraud, Nicole interjected. It looks like conspiracy. It looks like you and Rebecca planned to manipulate Amelia into marriage so you could access her inheritance. That's ridiculous. I love Amelia. You love her money, Amelia corrected. Her voice was steady now, clear. The shock was wearing off, replaced by cold certainty. The ultimatum was never about Rebecca being your friend. You wanted me off balance. Desperate. Willing to agree to anything to save the wedding. And then what? You'd slowly convince me to merge our finances completely? To add Rebecca to our lives so she could help you spend my money? You're paranoid, Jackson said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Because these papers tell a pretty clear story. Amelia picked up the shoebox. I'm taking these. I'm also taking my things. And tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. A lawyer? For what? To make sure you never get a cent of my money. To make sure everyone knows what you tried to do. She turned to Nicole. Can you finish packing while I make some calls? Outside, Amelia sat in her car and called the one lawyer she knew personally. Patricia Wells had handled her grandfather's will. She answered on the second ring. Patricia, I need your help. My fiancé and his ex-girlfriend have been planning to defraud me. I have evidence. Can you meet with me tomorrow? Patricia's response was immediate. 9 a.m. My office. Bring everything you have. Amelia hung up and let herself feel it finally. The betrayal. The manipulation. The cold calculation behind Jackson's actions. But mixed with the pain was something else. Something stronger. Relief. Because she'd almost married him. She'd almost legally tied herself to someone capable of this level of deception. The wedding had been scheduled for 10 o'clock this morning. It was noon now. By this time she should have been married. Instead she was free. And she was going to make absolutely sure Jackson and Rebecca paid for what they'd tried to do. Monday morning arrived with gray skies and steady rain. Amelia stood outside Patricia Wells' law office, clutching the shoebox of evidence against her chest. Nicole waited in the car, having taken the day off work to support her. The office was elegant but understated. Patricia greeted her warmly, then immediately shifted into professional mode once they sat down. Show me everything, Patricia said. Amelia spread the papers across the desk. bank statements, emails, letters. Patricia read through each one methodically, her expression growing more serious. This is worse than you described, Patricia finally said. This isn't just a joint account. Look at these transfer dates. She pointed to several transactions. These line up exactly with when you made deposits into your shared checking account. Every time you put money in, he was transferring equivalent amounts to this account with Rebecca. Amelia felt sick. I was essentially funding their scheme. For 3 months, yes. Patricia pulled out another document. And look at this email from Rebecca. She specifically mentions phase 2 starting after the marriage. They had a plan that extended beyond just accessing your shared account. What do you think phase 2 was? Based on this language, I guess they were going to pressure you to add Jackson to your investment accounts. Maybe even your inheritance accounts. Patricia sat back. Did Jackson ever suggest combining your finances more completely? Amelia nodded slowly. About 2 months ago. He said it would be easier once we were married if everything was just joint. I told him I wanted to wait until after the wedding. That probably bought you time. Made them nervous. Hence the public ultimatum. I don't understand. If they just wanted access to my money, why create that scene at the rehearsal dinner? Patricia tapped the papers. Control. They needed you off balance and desperate. A confident Amelia might question things. Might want a prenup. Might keep her accounts separate. But an Amelia who's terrified of losing her fiancé, who's embarrassed in front of her whole community, who's trying to prove she's not jealous or controlling. That Amelia might agree to anything. The calculation of it took Amelia's breath away. How could I have been so blind? You weren't blind. You trusted someone you loved. That's not a character flaw. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. Now let's talk about options. First, criminal charges. What they've done could constitute fraud, especially if we can prove intent to deceive you for financial gain. I want to press charges. Are you sure? It will be public. Messy. Jackson will fight it. He already humiliated me publicly. At least this way people will know the truth. Patricia nodded approvingly. I'll contact the district attorney's office. Second, civil action. You can sue for any money he transferred without your knowledge or permission from your shared account. How much are we talking about? Patricia calculated quickly. Based on these statements, roughly $43,000 over 3 months. Amelia felt dizzy. $43,000. Money she'd earned, money she'd saved, stolen systematically by the man she'd planned to marry. Third, Patricia continued, we need to secure your assets immediately. I want you to close any accounts he has access to today. Open new ones at different banks. Change all your passwords. Cancel any credit cards he could use. He's only on the one checking account. That's the one you know about. We need to run a full credit check to make sure he hasn't opened anything in your name. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Patricia took copies of everything, began drawing up paperwork, and scheduled a follow-up for later in the week. As Amelia left the office, she felt drained but determined. In the car, Nicole had coffee waiting. How bad? Nicole asked. $43,000 bad. Possibly criminal fraud bad. Amelia sipped the coffee gratefully. Patricia thinks they were planning something even bigger after the wedding. Jesus. And to think you almost married him. I know. They drove to Amelia's bank first. She closed the joint checking account, opened a new one, and transferred her remaining funds. The bank manager, who recognized her from previous visits, looked concerned but didn't ask questions. Next stop was her credit card company. Then her investment firm. By afternoon, Amelia had secured every financial asset she had. Jackson could no longer access a single dollar of her money. Her phone rang as they grabbed lunch. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Amelia Richardson? A woman's voice. Yes. This is Christine Park. I'm a reporter with Channel 7 News. I'd like to talk to you about the viral video from your rehearsal dinner. Amelia's grip tightened on the phone. I'm not interested in doing an interview. I understand this is difficult. But people are sharing their own stories in response to your video. Stories about financial abuse, manipulation in relationships. Your situation has sparked an important conversation. I said no. Amelia hung up. Reporter? Nicole guessed. Wanting to interview me about the video. Like I want to relive that nightmare on television. But as the day wore on, more calls came. Other reporters. A producer from a morning show. Someone from a podcast about relationship red flags. You could use this, Nicole said as they sat in Amelia's childhood bedroom that evening, surrounded by moving boxes. Control the narrative. Tell your story the way you want it told. Or I could stay quiet and let it blow over. Will it blow over though? The video has millions of views now. People are already talking. At least if you speak publicly, you can make sure they're hearing the truth. Amelia looked at her laptop, where the video was still playing on loop across social media. She'd avoided watching it until now. Seeing herself standing there in her emerald dress, hearing Jackson's ultimatum, watching her own face as she processed the betrayal in real time. It was brutal. But Nicole was right. People were already talking. Jackson was apparently giving interviews, painting himself as the victim of a jealous woman who couldn't handle him having female friends. Rebecca had posted a long statement on social media about toxic femininity and supporting your partner's friendships. They're winning the PR battle, Amelia said quietly. Only because you haven't told your side yet. Amelia thought about the shoebox of evidence sitting in Patricia's office. Thought about the $43,000. Thought about the calculated cruelty of Jackson's plan. She picked up her phone and called Christine Park back. I'll do the interview, Amelia said. But I have conditions. I want to talk about financial abuse in relationships. I want to show evidence. And I want to make it clear that this wasn't about jealousy. This was about manipulation. Christine agreed immediately. They scheduled the interview for Wednesday morning. After hanging up, Amelia felt a flutter of nervousness. She was really doing this. Going public. Telling her story to strangers. But maybe that's what it took to move forward. Maybe silence only protected people like Jackson and Rebecca. Are you sure about this? Nicole asked. Amelia looked at the video one more time. Saw herself standing there, absorbing the shock, processing the betrayal. Saw the moment she'd decided to walk away. That moment had saved her life, even if it hadn't felt like it at the time. I'm sure, Amelia said. They tried to destroy me. Now it's time people knew exactly what they tried to do. Tuesday morning, Amelia woke with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in days. The interview with Christine Park was tomorrow, which meant she had today to prepare. She'd moved her essentials into her parents' guest room temporarily, not wanting to rush into finding a new apartment. Her mother kept offering to help organize, but Amelia needed to do this herself. Needed to feel in control of something. Patricia called at 9. I've spoken with the district attorney's office. They're interested in the case but they want to meet with you directly. Can you come in Thursday? Yes. What do they think? Cautiously optimistic. The evidence is strong, but they'll need to investigate Rebecca's involvement more thoroughly. Have you heard from either of them since you found the documents? Jackson's called maybe 50 times. I haven't answered. Rebecca posted on social media about female empowerment and supporting your partner's past. Patricia made a disgusted sound. Save screenshots of anything they post publicly. It might be useful later. After the call, Amelia sat down with Nicole and a notebook. If I'm doing this interview, I need to be prepared. I need to know exactly what I'm going to say. Start with the facts, Nicole suggested. No emotions, just what happened. Amelia began writing. Jackson's ultimatum. Finding the shoebox. The bank transfers. The planned phases of their scheme. When she wrote it all down chronologically, the manipulation was even clearer. You should mention the timing, Nicole said, reading over her shoulder. He proposed right after your grandfather died and you received the inheritance. Amelia's pen stilled. She hadn't thought about that. Jackson had proposed 2 months after her grandfather passed, during the grief-stricken period when she was most vulnerable. Do you think he planned that too? I think someone who plans a 3-month financial fraud scheme is capable of planning anything. Amelia added it to her notes. The picture forming was ugly but complete. Jackson hadn't just betrayed her. He'd targeted her systematically. Her phone buzzed. Jackson again. This time, he'd sent a text that got through before she could block the new number. We need to talk. Rebecca is out of the picture now. We can fix this. Amelia showed Nicole, who rolled her eyes. Rebecca's out of the picture? Wonder what that means. Probably means their scheme fell apart and they're turning on each other. Another text came through. I made mistakes but I love you. Don't throw away 3 years over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Nicole read aloud. Is that what we're calling fraud now? Amelia blocked the number without responding. She had nothing to say to Jackson that her lawyer couldn't say better. By afternoon she'd finished preparing for the interview. She had her timeline. Her evidence. Her talking points. She'd even practiced in the mirror, making sure she sounded confident rather than bitter. You look ready, her mother said, bringing tea to the guest room. Are you sure you want to do this interview, baby? Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I don't want to take it back. I want people to know what happened. Brenda sat on the edge of the bed. Your father and I have been talking. We want you to know we support you completely. Whatever you decide to do next, wherever you decide to live, we're here. I know, Mom. And we're proud of you. For walking away. For standing up for yourself. I know this hurts, but you did the right thing. Amelia hugged her mother, letting herself feel supported. She'd been so focused on being strong that she'd forgotten it was okay to lean on people sometimes. That evening, her father knocked on the door. There's someone here to see you. Amelia's stomach dropped. If Jackson had come here. But it wasn't Jackson. It was Margaret Porter, Jackson's mother, looking uncomfortable and tired. I'll understand if you don't want to talk to me, Margaret said. But I needed to come. To apologize. They sat in the living room. Tom and Brenda stayed close, protective. I didn't know, Margaret began. About any of it. The account with Rebecca, the plan, nothing. When I saw that video, I was horrified. And then yesterday, I found some papers Jackson had hidden in our garage. She pulled out a folder. More bank statements. Emails between him and Rebecca going back 2 years. They've been planning this since before he even proposed to you. Amelia took the folder, her hands shaking. 2 years. They'd been manipulating her for 2 years. Why are you giving me this? She asked. Because my son is a liar and a thief and you deserve to know the full truth. Because I raised him better than this and I'm ashamed of what he's become. Margaret's voice broke. I'm so sorry, Amelia. I thought you'd be my daughter-in-law. I was so happy when Jackson said he was proposing. I never imagined. It's not your fault. I know. But I still feel responsible. And I want you to know that his father and I are not supporting him in this. We've told him he's on his own. We've told him what he did was unforgivable. After Margaret left, Amelia looked through the new documents. They were damning. Emails discussing Amelia's inheritance. Planning how to play the long game. Rebecca's message about being patient because the payoff will be worth it. She called Patricia immediately. I have more evidence. A lot more. Bring it tomorrow before your interview. This changes things significantly. That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the 2 years of lies. Every date, every conversation, every intimate moment had been built on manipulation. Jackson had never loved her. He'd seen her as a mark. A target. But lying in bed, looking at the ceiling of her childhood bedroom, Amelia realized something else. She was angry. Furious. But she wasn't broken. Jackson and Rebecca had tried to destroy her. They'd humiliated her publicly, stolen from her, betrayed her trust in the worst possible way. But she was still here. Still standing. Still fighting. Tomorrow she'd tell her story. The district attorney would build a case. The truth would come out. And Jackson and Rebecca would face the consequences of what they'd done. Amelia finally slept, and for the first time since the rehearsal dinner, she didn't dream about the wedding that never was. She dreamed about the future she was going to build instead. Wednesday morning came with surprising clarity. Amelia dressed carefully for the interview in a royal blue dress that made her feel confident and strong. Nicole arrived early to drive her to the studio. You ready? Nicole asked. As ready as I'll ever be. The Channel 7 studio was smaller than Amelia expected but professional. Christine Park met them in the lobby, warm and reassuring. We'll go over everything before we start filming. You can stop anytime if you need a break. This is your story to tell. They settled in the interview chairs. Lights adjusted. Cameras positioned. Amelia's heart pounded, but her hands stayed steady. Let's start with the rehearsal dinner, Christine began once filming started. Tell me what happened. Amelia took a breath and began talking. She described Jackson's ultimatum, the shock of Rebecca appearing uninvited, the public humiliation. She stayed calm, factual, letting the events speak for themselves. When did you realize this was about more than his ex-girlfriend? Christine asked. The next day when I went to collect my things. I found evidence of bank fraud. A joint account he'd opened with Rebecca. Transfers of my money into that account. Emails discussing their plan. Christine's expression sharpened. Can you elaborate on this plan? Amelia pulled out copies of the documents Patricia had cleared for public release. She showed the bank statements, read excerpts from the emails that didn't contain anything legally sensitive. They'd been planning this for 2 years. The relationship, the proposal, even the timing of it. Jackson proposed 2 months after my grandfather died and I received a substantial inheritance. That wasn't coincidence. What do you want people to understand about your experience? Amelia looked directly at the camera. Financial abuse is real. Manipulation is real. What happened to me wasn't about jealousy or being unable to handle my partner having female friends. It was about two people systematically planning to defraud me. And the public humiliation at the rehearsal dinner was designed to make me so desperate that I'd agree to anything. What would you say to other people who might be experiencing similar manipulation? Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And protect yourself financially. Don't give anyone access to your money just because you love them. The interview lasted 45 minutes. When it was over, Amelia felt drained but relieved. She told her truth. Whatever happened next was out of her control. Christine thanked her warmly. This will air tonight. I think it's going to help a lot of people. On the drive home, Nicole squeezed her hand. You were perfect, strong, clear, honest. I hope I did the right thing. You did. Trust me. They stopped for lunch trying to maintain normalcy. But Amelia's phone kept buzzing with notifications. The interview had been promoted on social media. People were already commenting, most supportively. Then Jackson's name appeared on her screen. Another text from another new number. I just heard about your interview. You're making a huge mistake. I have lawyers too. If you think you can destroy me publicly and get away with it, you're wrong. Amelia screenshot the message and sent it to Patricia with a simple note. He's threatening me. Patricia responded immediately, do not respond. Forward any other threats directly to me. An hour later, another message came through. This one from Rebecca. You're a vindictive person. We tried to handle this privately, but you had to make it public. Don't be surprised when this backfires on you. Amelia forwarded that one to Patricia too, then blocked both numbers. Her interview aired at 6 that evening. Amelia watched it with her parents and Nicole, feeling strange about seeing herself on television. But the interview was powerful. The evidence was clear. By the time it ended, her phone was exploding with messages. Friends reaching out with support. Distant acquaintances saying they'd suspected something was wrong. Even a few people she barely knew sharing their own stories of financial manipulation. But then the negative responses started. Jackson's friends defending him. People calling Amelia bitter. A few suggesting she was lying for attention. Ignore them, Nicole advised. Focus on the people supporting you. At 8 o'clock, Amelia's phone rang. Unknown number again, but she answered anyway. Miss Richardson? This is Detective Sarah Monroe from the Fraud Division. I saw your interview. Would you be available to come in tomorrow to give a formal statement? Yes, absolutely. 10 in the morning. Bring all the evidence you have. After hanging up, Amelia felt a rush of validation. The police were taking this seriously. This was really happening. Another call came through. Patricia this time. Have you seen social media in the last hour? Patricia asked. Some of it. Why? Rebecca just posted a video response to your interview. Just bad, Amelia. She's claiming you're lying, that the bank account was for a legitimate business venture, that you're trying to destroy them both because you couldn't handle Jackson having female friends. Amelia pulled up Rebecca's social media. The video had thousands of views already. Rebecca looked tearful, sympathetic, painting herself as the victim of a jealous woman's vendetta. She's lying, Amelia said. Everything I showed was documented. I know. But she's good at this. She's manipulating the narrative. Patricia paused. However, she also made some specific claims that contradict the evidence. That could work in our favor legally. What do we do? Nothing right now. Let her keep talking. Every lie she tells is more evidence for our case. That night, Amelia lay in bed scrolling through the responses to her interview. The support outweighed the criticism, but the negative comments still stung. People questioning her motives, suggesting she was exaggerating. But then she saw something that changed her perspective. A message from a stranger. Thank you for speaking up. My ex did something similar. Took money from our joint account and disappeared. I thought I was the only one. Seeing you fight back gives me courage to report what happened to me. Then another message. And another. Women and men sharing their own stories of financial abuse. Of manipulation. Of partners who'd used love as a weapon. Amelia realized her story was bigger than her own pain. By speaking up, she'd opened a door for others to recognize their own experiences. To understand they weren't alone. She screenshot some of the messages and sent them to Nicole with a note. This is why I did the interview. Nicole responded immediately, you're changing lives. That's more important than anything Jackson or Rebecca can say. Amelia fell asleep that night feeling stronger. Tomorrow she'd give her statement to the police. The legal process would continue. Jackson and Rebecca would keep trying to discredit her. But she'd already won the most important battle. She'd taken back her power. She'd told her truth. And she was never going to let anyone make her feel small again. Thursday morning, Amelia walked into the police station with her folder of evidence and Patricia by her side. Detective Monroe was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Let's see what you have," Detective Monroe said, gesturing to the conference room table. Amelia spread out everything. The bank statements, the emails, the letters, documents from Margaret Porter showing the 2-year timeline. Detective Monroe examined each piece carefully, taking notes. "This is substantial," she said finally. "The bank fraud is clear. The question is proving intent to commit additional fraud through the marriage." "Isn't the email about phase 2 enough?" Amelia asked. "It helps. But good defense lawyers will argue it's vague, could mean anything." Detective Monroe looked up. "However, combined with the pattern of behavior, the timing of the proposal, the systematic transfers, we have a solid case. I'm going to recommend charges." "What kind of charges?" "Theft by deception. Bank fraud. Possibly conspiracy. Both of them." Detective Monroe closed her notebook. "This will take time. Investigations like this move slowly. But Miss Richardson, I want you to know we take financial abuse seriously. You did the right thing coming forward." After giving her formal statement, Amelia left the police station feeling validated but exhausted. Patricia dropped her at home with instructions to rest and let the legal system do its work. But rest was impossible. Her phone showed hundreds of notifications. The story had gone national. News outlets were covering it. Social media was debating it. Someone had created a hashtag, Justice for Amelia. Her interview had been shared millions of times. Other people were coming forward with similar stories. A pattern was emerging of financial abuse in relationships that people hadn't recognized or felt able to report. But Jackson and Rebecca weren't staying quiet. Jackson had done his own interview with a different network, claiming Amelia was lying because he'd broken up with her. Rebecca was posting daily videos maintaining their innocence. "They're digging themselves deeper," Patricia said when Amelia called her, worried about the competing narratives. "Every time they talk they contradict themselves. Let them keep going." By Friday the fallout had spread to Jackson's workplace. Amelia learned through a mutual friend that his company had placed him on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. "They can't afford the bad publicity," Nicole explained. "Not with this much attention on the case." Rebecca had apparently been fired from her job. Something about integrity clauses in her contract. She was claiming on social media that she was being persecuted, that cancel culture had gone too far. "Good," Amelia's father said when they discussed it over dinner. "Actions have consequences." But the attention was overwhelming. Reporters still called daily. Amelia had to change her phone number twice. Her parents' house had photographers outside occasionally, hoping for a photo. "I just want my life back," Amelia said to Nicole one evening as they watched another news segment about the case. "You'll get there. This won't last forever." But in the meantime, Amelia had to figure out what to do with her immediate future. She couldn't stay in her parents' guest room indefinitely. She needed to move forward. She started apartment hunting online. Nothing too big, but somewhere that was entirely hers. A fresh start. She also started thinking about her career. The tech company had been understanding about her taking time off, but she couldn't stay on leave forever. When she returned to work the following Monday, her colleagues were supportive but curious. Amelia had to navigate sympathetic looks and careful questions. She kept her head down and focused on her projects. But the legal process was moving faster than expected. Patricia called Tuesday afternoon with news. "The district attorney is moving forward. They're filing charges against both Jackson and Rebecca. Theft, fraud, conspiracy. And they want to offer you a victim advocate to help you through the trial process." "There's going to be a trial?" "Most likely yes. Unless they take a plea deal." Patricia paused. "Amelia, this is going to get harder before it gets better. A trial means testifying. Cross-examination. Your relationship will be dissected publicly. Are you prepared for that?" Amelia thought about the shoebox of evidence. The systematic betrayal. The $43,000 stolen from her. "Yes," she said. "I'm prepared." That evening, official charges were announced. The news covered it extensively. Jackson's mugshot appeared online. So did Rebecca's. Amelia looked at the photos, expecting to feel satisfaction. Instead, she felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that someone she'd loved had been capable of such cruelty. But beneath the sadness was relief. Justice was happening. The truth was coming out. Her phone rang. Her mother. Have you seen the charges? Baby, are you okay? I'm okay, Mom. Actually, I'm better than okay. This is what needed to happen. Your father and I are proud of you. So proud. After hanging up, Amelia sat in her new apartment. She'd signed the lease that afternoon. Moved in this weekend. Starting fresh. She looked around at the empty space. No memories here. No ghosts. Just possibility. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nicole. Dinner tomorrow? We need to celebrate you being a complete badass. Amelia smiled. Yes, dinner sounded good. Celebration sounded good. She'd been through hell. But she'd walked through the fire and come out stronger. Jackson and Rebecca were facing criminal charges. Her money was secure. Her life was her own again. The fallout would continue. The trial would be difficult. But Amelia was ready. She'd found her strength. And nobody was ever going to take it from her again. 3 months after the charges were filed, Amelia sat in her new apartment watching the sunset through her living room window. The space was coming together. Furniture she'd chosen herself. Art that reflected her taste, not Jackson's. Plants that she somehow managed to keep alive. The trial was scheduled for next month. Patricia had prepared her extensively. Amelia knew what to expect, knew the questions the defense would ask, knew how to stay calm under pressure. But today wasn't about the trial. Today was about something she'd been thinking about for weeks. She opened her laptop and pulled up the business plan she'd been working on. For years, she'd dreamed of starting her own marketing consulting firm. She had the skills, the contacts, the knowledge. What she hadn't had was the courage. Jackson had always discouraged it. Too risky, he'd said. Better to stay at the stable corporate job. Now she realized he'd wanted her dependent, tied to predictable income he could access. But she wasn't dependent anymore. And she wasn't afraid. She scheduled a meeting with a small business advisor. Researched business loans. Reached out to former colleagues who might be interested in contract work. You're really doing this? Nicole asked when Amelia told her about the business plan. I'm really doing this. If I learned anything from this nightmare, it's that life is short and I need to stop waiting for permission to chase my dreams. Nicole hugged her. I'm so proud of you. The transformation hadn't been easy. Amelia had spent weeks in therapy, working through the betrayal and manipulation. She'd had bad days where getting out of bed felt impossible. Days where she questioned everything about her judgment and her worth. But slowly, steadily, she'd rebuilt herself. And this version of Amelia was stronger than before. She filed the business paperwork in April. Richardson Marketing Solutions. Her name, her vision, her future. Her first client came from an unexpected source. Someone who'd seen her interview and been impressed by how she'd handled a crisis. They needed marketing consultation for a product launch. Amelia threw herself into the work. Creating strategies, designing campaigns, coordinating with designers and writers. The work energized her in a way her corporate job never had. By May she had 3 clients. By June 5. The business was growing faster than she'd anticipated. You're going to need to hire help, Nicole observed, watching Amelia work late one evening. I know. I've been thinking about that. She hired 2 contractors to start. People she'd worked with before who shared her values and work ethic. Richardson Marketing Solutions was becoming real. The trial loomed closer. Jackson's lawyers had tried multiple delay tactics, but the judge wasn't having it. July 15th. That was the date. Amelia prepared while running her business. Reviewed documents with Patricia. Practiced her testimony. Made sure she was ready. Jackson had tried to contact her once through his lawyer, suggesting they settle. He'd pay back the money if she dropped the charges. Patricia had laughed at the offer. He's scared, Patricia explained. The evidence is too strong. He knows he's going to lose. Rebecca, meanwhile, had disappeared from social media. Her lawyer had probably told her to stop talking. Too late though. Everything she'd said publicly was being used against her. One evening in late June, Amelia's doorbell rang unexpectedly. She checked the peephole and saw a man she didn't recognize. Tall, professional-looking, holding a briefcase. Can I help you? She asked through the door. Miss Richardson? I'm Cameron Brooks. I'm an investigator working with the district attorney's office. I have some questions about the case if you have time. Amelia called Patricia first to verify. Once confirmed, she let Cameron in. He was professional and thorough, asking detailed questions about the timeline of her relationship with Jackson, the financial arrangements when she first noticed red flags. You have an incredible memory for details, Cameron said as they finished. That's going to help tremendously in court. I wrote everything down as soon as I found the evidence. I didn't want to forget anything. Cameron smiled. Smart. Most victims are too traumatized to be that organized. Something about his expression made Amelia pause. I'm not a victim. I mean, legally I am. But I don't think of myself that way. What do you think of yourself as? A survivor. Someone who fought back. Cameron nodded approvingly. That attitude will serve you well on the stand. After he left, Amelia sat with those words. A survivor. Yes, that fit better than victim. She'd survived Jackson's manipulation. Survived the public humiliation. Survived having her trust shattered. And she'd done more than survive. She built a new life. A better life. Her business was thriving. Her apartment was a home. Her relationships with family and friends were stronger. She'd even started dating casually, though nothing serious yet. She wasn't ready for that. But she was happy. Genuinely happy in a way she hadn't been even before Jackson's betrayal. Because now she knew her own strength. Knew what she was capable of overcoming. The trial would be difficult. Facing Jackson in court, having their relationship dissected publicly, reliving the betrayal. But Amelia was ready. She transformed her pain into power. Her betrayal into purpose. And whatever the trial brought, she would handle it. Because she wasn't the woman who'd stood in that ballroom 3 months ago, shocked and humiliated. She was stronger now. Wiser. Free. And absolutely unstoppable. July 15th arrived with clear skies and unexpected calm. Amelia dressed carefully for court in a navy suit that projected confidence and professionalism. Patricia met her at the courthouse steps. Remember everything we practiced, Patricia said. Stay calm. Answer only what's asked. Don't let the defense attorney provoke you. The courtroom was smaller than Amelia expected but packed with people. Reporters filled the back rows. She saw her parents sitting with Nicole. On the other side of the aisle, she saw Jackson with his legal team. Their eyes met briefly. He looked tired, diminished. Nothing like the confident man who'd given her an ultimatum in front of 200 guests. The trial lasted 4 days. Amelia testified for 6 hours total, walking through the relationship, the proposal, finding the evidence, the systematic financial abuse. Jackson's lawyer tried to paint her as vindictive, as someone who couldn't handle a breakup. But the evidence was too strong. The bank statements spoke for themselves. The emails were damning. Even Jackson's own mother had provided documentation of his deception. Rebecca's testimony contradicted Jackson's in several key places. Their carefully planned scheme fell apart under scrutiny. They turned on each other, each trying to minimize their own responsibility. On the 4th day, the jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty. On all counts. Both of them. Amelia sat in the courtroom listening to the verdict, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Justice. Real, tangible justice. Jackson would serve prison time. So would Rebecca. They'd have to pay restitution for the money they'd stolen. They'd have criminal records that would follow them forever. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Amelia made a brief statement, thanking the district attorney's office and encouraging others experiencing financial abuse to speak up. That night, her family and friends gathered at her apartment to celebrate. Not celebrate the verdict exactly, but celebrate moving forward. Closing this chapter. To Amelia, her father toasted. The strongest person I know. To new beginnings, Nicole added. Amelia looked around at the people who'd supported her through the worst time of her life. Who'd believed her when others doubted. Who'd stood by her when it would have been easier to stay silent. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Media appearances to discuss financial abuse in relationships. Her business grew as more clients sought her out. She hired 2 more employees. Richardson Marketing Solutions was becoming exactly what she'd dreamed of. One evening in August, Amelia attended a networking event for small business owners. She was chatting with a potential client when someone approached. Amelia Richardson? I'm Cameron Brooks. We met a few months ago. She remembered. The investigator who'd called her a survivor. I remember. The trial went well, thanks in part to your investigation. I'm glad I could help. Actually, I'm here in a different capacity tonight. I started my own security consulting firm last year. Someone suggested I talk to you about marketing. They talked business for 20 minutes. Cameron was sharp, professional, and genuinely interested in her ideas. When he asked if she'd be interested in taking on his firm as a client, she agreed immediately. Over the next month, They worked together on developing his marketing strategy. Cameron was easy to work with, respected her expertise, and actually listened to her suggestions. A refreshing change from some of her other clients. Coffee? Cameron asked after a particularly productive meeting in September. To celebrate finishing the strategy? Amelia hesitated. It felt like more than a business coffee. But maybe that was okay. Maybe she was ready to let someone new into her life, even cautiously. Coffee sounds good. They talked for 2 hours at a small cafe downtown. About work, yes, but also about life. Cameron had been through his own difficult divorce 3 years ago. He understood betrayal, understood the process of rebuilding. I'm not looking for anything serious, Amelia said honestly. I'm still figuring out who I am after everything. That's fair. How about we just keep having coffee and see where it goes? Amelia smiled. No pressure. No expectations. Just possibility. They had coffee again the next week. And dinner the week after that. Slowly, carefully, Amelia let someone new in. Cameron was patient, never pushing, always respecting her boundaries. By October, Richardson Marketing Solutions had 12 clients and 4 employees. Amelia was featured in a business magazine article about entrepreneurs who'd overcome adversity. Her story was inspiring others not just about surviving financial abuse, but about having the courage to start over. One Sunday morning, her doorbell rang. She answered to find a package with no return address. Inside was a letter. Amelia, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably never want to hear from me again. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Prison has given me time to think about what I did, about how I hurt you. You deserved so much better. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right to walk away. You were right about everything. I hope you're happy. Jackson. Amelia read the letter twice. Part of her wanted to feel anger. Part of her wanted to feel vindication. Instead, she felt nothing. Jackson had no power over her anymore. His apology changed nothing. His remorse meant nothing. She threw the letter away and went back to her life. That evening, she had dinner with Cameron. They'd been seeing each other for 2 months now, taking things slowly but enjoying each other's company. You seem distracted, Cameron observed. Jackson sent a letter. An apology. How do you feel about that? I don't. That's the strange thing. I expected to feel something, but I just don't care anymore. Cameron squeezed her hand. That's healing. That's moving forward. Amelia realized he was right. She'd spent months processing the betrayal, working through the pain, rebuilding her life. Jackson was just a part of her past now. A painful chapter that taught her important lessons but didn't define her. I'm happy, she said suddenly. I'm actually genuinely happy. You should be. Look at everything you've built. Amelia thought about the business she'd created, the apartment she loved, the friendships she'd strengthened, the new relationship she was cautiously exploring. She'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and transformed it into something powerful. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. To new beginnings, Cameron echoed. And Amelia meant it. This was her new beginning. Her life on her terms. Her happiness earned through strength and resilience. Jackson had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd freed her. And she was never looking back. 1 year after the rehearsal dinner that changed everything, Amelia stood in the ballroom of her own office building. Richardson Marketing Solutions had grown beyond her wildest expectations. 23 employees. 46 clients. A reputation as one of the most innovative marketing firms in the city. Tonight was the celebration. The official launch party for her expanded offices, with clients, employees, friends, and family all gathered to celebrate her success. Speech. Nicole called out, grinning widely. Amelia took the microphone, looking around at the faces of people who'd supported her journey. Her parents beaming with pride. Her employees who'd taken a chance on a startup. Her clients who'd trusted her vision. Cameron who'd somehow become a steady, supportive presence in her life. A year ago, Amelia began, I was standing in a different ballroom facing what felt like the end of my world. Someone I loved betrayed me publicly. Humiliated me in front of everyone I knew. And in that moment I had a choice. I could crumble or I could walk away. The room was silent, listening. I walked away. And that decision saved my life. Because sometimes the worst things that happen to us are actually the things that set us free. Amelia smiled. I built this company from pain and determination. Every client I landed, every employee I hired, every success we've had, it all came from deciding that I deserved better. That I was worth more than someone who would treat me that way. She raised her glass. So tonight, we're not just celebrating Richardson Marketing Solutions. We're celebrating the courage it takes to start over, the strength it takes to rebuild, and the joy that comes from creating a life that's authentically yours. Thank you all for being part of this journey. The room erupted in applause. Amelia stepped down from the small stage, immediately engulfed in hugs and congratulations. Her mother pulled her aside. Your grandfather would be so proud. You took his inheritance and turned it into something beautiful. I wish he could see this. He can, baby. I believe that. Later in the evening, as the party wound down, Cameron found her on the office balcony overlooking the city lights. Quite a year, he said, handing her a glass of champagne. Quite a year, she agreed. I have something to tell you. Cameron looked nervous, which was unusual for him. I got offered a job in Seattle. Big security contract. It's a great opportunity. Amelia's heart sank. They'd been together for 8 months now. Slow and steady but real. The thought of him leaving hurt more than she expected. When? She asked. 3 months. But Amelia, I'm not asking you to wait for me. I'm asking if you'd consider coming with me. Not now, obviously. Your business is here. But maybe eventually? I know it's fast. I know you're not ready for big commitments. But I care about you. And I can see a future with you if you want that too. Amelia looked at the city spread out before them. This place held so much pain but also so much growth. She'd rebuilt herself here. But maybe she was strong enough now to build somewhere new. Maybe with someone who actually deserved her. Let's take it slow, she said finally. You go to Seattle. I'll visit. We'll see how it feels. No pressure. No ultimatums. Cameron smiled. No ultimatums. I like that. They stood together watching the city and Amelia felt at peace. Whatever happened with Cameron, she knew she'd be okay. She'd proven that to herself over this past year. The next morning, Amelia woke to her phone buzzing. A message from an unknown number made her pause, wondering if Jackson had somehow gotten a new way to contact her. But it wasn't Jackson. It was from Rebecca. I know you probably never want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I'm getting help. Therapy. Understanding why I did what I did. You didn't deserve what we put you through. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that what happened taught me something important. I was wrong. About everything. Amelia deleted the message without responding. Rebecca's journey was her own. Amelia had no space for it in her life. She got ready for work, pulling on a crimson blazer that made her feel powerful. At the office, her team was already buzzing with energy, working on 3 new client pitches. Morning, boss, her assistant called out. The Peterson Group called. They want to meet about doing their full marketing overhaul. Amelia grinned. The Peterson Group was huge. If they landed that contract, it would triple their revenue. Set it up for this week. The day flew by in meetings and strategy sessions. Around 3, Nicole stopped by with coffee, a tradition they'd maintained despite their busy schedules. How's everything? Nicole asked. Good. Really good. Cameron told me about Seattle last night. And we're going to see where it goes. No pressure. Just possibility. Nicole studied her friend. You're different, you know. Stronger. But also lighter, if that makes sense. It did make sense. Amelia felt lighter. The weight of Jackson's betrayal had finally lifted completely. She processed it, learned from it, and moved on. That evening, scrolling through social media, Amelia saw that Jackson had been released from prison. He'd served 8 months of his 2-year sentence, gotten out early for good behavior. Comments on the post ranged from outrage to support. Amelia felt nothing. His release didn't affect her. His life didn't touch hers anymore. She closed the app and pulled up her business projections instead. Richardson Marketing Solutions was on track to double its revenue again next year. She was considering opening a second office. Maybe in Seattle, she thought with a smile. Her phone rang. Cameron. Hey, I was thinking about you, she said. Good thoughts. Always good thoughts. They talked for an hour about nothing important. Or weather. Plans for the weekend. The easy conversation of 2 people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. After hanging up, Amelia looked around her apartment. This space that had been a fresh start a year ago now felt like home. But she'd learned that home wasn't about a place. It was about feeling safe, valued, respected. She'd created that for herself. Built it from scratch after everything had fallen apart. And if she decided to build it somewhere else eventually, she knew she could. Because she wasn't the woman who'd stood in that ballroom a year ago, absorbing someone else's cruelty. She was stronger, wiser, free. The rehearsal dinner that was supposed to destroy her had actually been her salvation. Walking away from Jackson had been the best decision she'd ever made. Amelia closed her laptop and smiled at her reflection in the window. Tomorrow she'd pitch the Peterson Group. Next week she'd visit Cameron in Seattle. Next month she'd hire more staff. The future stretched out before her, full of possibility and promise. And it was all hers. Built by her strength. Earned by her courage. Protected by her newfound wisdom about what she deserved. Jackson had demanded she accept his terms or lose him. She'd chosen to lose him. And gained everything.